Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about optimism and the correlations of optimism and how to be optimistic. What is optimism and why optimism? So let's start with what is optimism, right? So optimism by Google is defined as the hopefulness and confidence about the future or the success of something. So, in my opinion, optimism refers to basically being confident and positive about the future, uh, the future consequences of something that is about to happen, that you know, right? So, that is, in my opinion, what optimism means. Now, why should one be optimistic, right? So that needs to be answered. Like all the pessimistic people might be thinking, why do I need to switch, right? Why do I have to be hopeful about things? Why do I have to face disappointment by being optimistic? So first of all, if you don't know pessimism is basically just the opposite of optimism. It's having negative feelings about the future and your situation. Basically, you are not confident in the future. In pessimism, right? So now we have done the what of optimism. Now, why should one be optimistic? Why should one stop feeling inconfident about the future, right? So the way I see it, I believe a lot in mind power and the power that we could have on our mind by just merely learning to control it. It's like a really fast car, once you know how to control it, you can own the road, you can do whatever you want, right, with that car. And your mind is just like that. You have to get a hold of your mind and you can do anything that is in your mind's arm's reach, right? So one way that I thought that we can learn to control our mind power is by having positive thoughts. So you may have experienced yourself that when you're having a bad day, you're usually having negative thoughts the whole time. It's not like you got up, had a good cup of coffee or whatever, and you had no stimulus that upset you, and then you suddenly started having feelings that are negative. That does not happen. Maybe you had a nice cup of coffee, but then something really bad happened. Maybe you left the water running, and that wasted a lot of water, and you felt guilty about it. It could be whatever, right? So the way I see it is that if you find the positive thing in that particular situation that caused your negative emotions to trigger, then you won't be feeling bad ever. You won't be having a bad day ever. And that's how you learn to control your mind, through optimism. So that is why you should be optimistic. And there have been studies, I believe. I haven't myself checked them out yet, but I'm pretty sure there have been studies conducted on this, that having positive attitude towards your future makes success come easy, right? So that is a notion to remember. And now we have just done the what of optimism. Now let's do, we have done the why of optimism as well. So lastly, how do we learn to be optimistic, right? So I would say start right now, start right now and look around, right? Look around. What do you not like about your surrounding? I'm saying that, let's say I have a perfume bottle laying around and it's not in its place, right? So I may think that this is wrong, right? This is a negative emotion coming in. How can I make this positive? Well, I can tell my brain that, well, I'm going to get up in a minute or so after recording this, and I'm going to put it back there, inside where it's supposed to be. And that sort of reassurance to your mind sort of triggers positive feelings, or rather kind of blocks anything negative that could come. So this is a very small example. You can pick anything around your surrounding and something that causes you to feel something, right? For example, I don't like when my things are laying around like that, right? So that is what you want to do. Find something that kind of triggers you, kind of gives you a guilty feeling maybe, and just find an excuse of that not being a negative thing. It's gonna take some time for people to realize this, and once you get it, it's really, really helpful. Like I said, it's way better than not being optimistic. So that is the how of the optimism. Now, I would also like to shed some light on the correlations of optimism with pessimism and intelligence. So pessimism, like I said, is just feeling negative about the future, being inconfident of the future, basically just having negative thoughts. It just all boils down to that, being positive or being negative, right? So pessimism is about being negative all the time, and it is like a cancer. I'm telling you, it is like a cancer, a mental cancer, if you will. And it is so bad. Like, just think about it yourself. So all day you're just going throughout your day, going to school, college, whatever, office, and everything that happens while commuting, while working, you're just focusing on the negative aspects of everything. Just think about it. Isn't it sort of not smart? I would say so, because why? Pessimism is not exactly pessimism, but sometimes having, not having those positive emotions may drive you to do something productive, but it's not good to be pessimistic, So the correlation about optimism with pessimism is that I believe if something is about to happen and you're pessimistic, the thing that's about to happen is probably gonna have zero chances of happening. Something positive happening would be a 0% chance if you're pessimistic about it. But being optimistic at least gives you the hope, or rather, now a lot of you might disagree with this, because the whole point of being pessimistic about things is that you don't get disappointed like you would if you are optimistic. But the thing is that if you're optimistic, you at least have some chances of something happening, something good happening in the future. Whereas in pessimism, you just ruin all your chances. If something is in your hands and you're negative about doing it, then the outcome of that will probably be worse than if you were optimistic while doing the thing. So that is my point. That is the correlation between the two. And the why of optimism, sort of. And then I come to intelligence. Intelligence, now, what I mean by correlating with intelligence is that, well, are intelligent people more leaning towards optimism or pessimism? Now, what I believe is that inherently they're more inclined towards pessimism, because, well, they're smart people and they know that most of the things that happen in the world is negative, the world is not a fair place, and that makes them pessimistic automatically for the future. Intelligent people always give this excuse that if I'm optimistic and the thing I was being optimistic about does not happen the way I wanted it to, then doesn't that disappoint me? Doesn't that push my expectations into the water? Well, I would say, yeah, but would it have been better if you had no expectations at all? Like, you have no hope for the future. Would that have been better? Would that be better if you have that right now, If you're not hopeful for the future right now, would the future be any better if you were hopeful for it? So that's my point. But anyways, the point was that intelligent people are more inclined towards being pessimistic than optimistic, because logically pessimistic is the more human nature sort of option. People naturally incline towards being pessimistic. So, as a concluding note, I would like to say that being optimistic is just better. However you want to look at it, it's just better to be hopeful for the future, to be confident in yourself and others around you that are close to you. And being negative just doesn't do any good ever. So like this video if you got any value from it. I would love to see any kind of feedback. Drop a comment if you would like me to change anything, or maybe you want to give a feedback simply. And yeah, subscribe if you like this kind of content. Check out my other videos if you like this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.